Hi, and welcome to the Tinkercad Design Challenge. My name is Patrick Murphy, and I am in the CSUSM Summer 2019 Education 422 class being taught by Professor Evans. So in today's challenge, we're going to make your own cell phone holder. So some of the features are that we believe this is targeted at ninth grade students with basic technological awareness. Students will design a 3D printout of their very own cell phone stand through the use of the website Tinkercad. Students will use geometric 3D shapes to construct their stand and use measurements and scales to real-life size comparisons. Tinkercad can then send the file to a program to have this printed for each student. So why use 3D modeling? There are many benefits to using 3D modeling. Some are to create intricate objects that are unable to be molded. Another is to create pieces for machines that can be mass-produced. A third is that so you can create a database of diagrams, schematics, blueprints, and designs that can be saved on the internet and on computers and then sent all over the world without having to wait for physical blueprints to be mailed. And another reason you would want to use 3D modeling is to create targeted pieces for any range of needs, no matter the tools available. So this could be someone who is in a very different part of the world, might have a 3D program and a 3D printer, and they have very different needs from someone who is in your own neighborhood who both need, for instance, to fix a piece on the lawnmower, but the lawnmower is completely different. You can look at your broken piece and design a new fixed version off of that one. So for today's challenge, here are the student learning outcomes and objectives. The students will understand how technology is advancing in the 21st century by using a 3D printer. Students will break down a step-by-step process with trial and error by working in groups of 2. Students will collaborate and engage in step-by-step instructions by using hands-on applications to build real-world tools. Students will create a tangible accessory for everyday use while expanding their computational thinking. Here is what the finished product will look like. There are 2 options. You can either include the hole for the home button or not. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to do is go to www.tinkercad.com using Chrome or Firefox. Sign up for a free account by clicking Join Now. Once you've created your free account, you'll want to click Create Your Own Design. And on the top left of this design, you'll want to change the name so that it can be saved. Before we go into the program, let's go over some vocabulary. The first is the work plane. This is the blue grid where we will do all of the work. Second is the round roof, which is one of our key components for this project. The third is nodes, which are the little dots that show up when we click the Align button. They're very useful. The rotation handle or the rotation curve is what we will use to actually rotate the objects. And the snap grid is what we will use to decide how precise our movements are going to be. Take a few minutes to explore this program. Click on different buttons, drag various shapes around. What is easy for you? What is difficult? What can you figure out just by playing around on your own? And once you feel comfortable, feel free to move on so we can get started. Alright guys, welcome to Tinkercad. First, before we start, we're going to go over some of the tools that we have at our disposal. The first tool is the snap grid right here in the bottom right hand corner. You can use it to select how precise your movements would like to be on the grid when we're working. For this project, I would select the 1 millimeter. Another option for us to use are these shapes in this plane to our right. You can select which type of shapes or numbers you'd like to be shown. For this, the basic shapes are what we're going to use. A third tool that we'll be using is making our dimensions different. And to do this, you can either drag one of the corners, one of the white boxes, or simply click on one of the dimensions, type in a new number, and click enter. Another tool that we'll be using that'll be very helpful is if you hold down Control and left click, or if you hold down right click, you can move your view so you can have a different view of the object that we'll be working on. Another tool that makes working on objects really easy is this ruler up in the top right corner. If you drag it on to the work plane anywhere, it doesn't matter where you drag it, you can then see all the dimensions available on your object, and notice how our dimensions change as we move the object around. And again, you can click, type a new dimension, click enter, and your object will change. Alright, so let's add in the base. The base we are going to use is the round roof, so go over to the right plane and drag it on. We're going to resize the base so that it fits the dimensions for the phone holder we're going to create. So for this, I'm going to drag on the ruler so I can see all the dimensions of the base. Then the next step is to edit our dimensions. The X dimension is going to be 80 units. The Y dimension is going to be 70 units. And the Z dimension is going to be 30 units. The next step will be adding in the block that will become our hole for our phone to sit in once our project is complete. To do this, we're going to add in the red block, the red box, to our right and drag it on to the plane. Now we need to adjust the dimensions of this box so that it cuts a hole in our holder. To adjust the dimensions, I'm going to drag the ruler onto the plane again. The X dimension is going to be 20. The Y dimension is going to be 70. And the Z dimension is going to be 30. The next step is to take this red box and rotate it. Now we're doing this rotation so that our phone can sit at an angle. There are two ways to rotate. In both, you'll first select the rotation handle at the top of the shape. And then either if you hold your cursor outside of the circle, you can rotate very precisely by 1 degree. If you hold your cursor inside the circle, you can rotate every 22.5 degrees. For this, we want to be rotating 22.5 degrees to the left. Once we have our objects made, the next step is to align them. There are two options when about to select two objects. You can either click on the plane and drag across your two objects and that will select them both, or you can click on one, hold down Shift, and select the other. Once we have both our objects selected, we want to click the Align tool up here in the top right. We click the Align tool and then we have to click the correct nodes that will align our objects the way we want them to be aligned. For this, we will select the center node on the left side. Now our objects are aligned with each other. The next step is to get the red box about 1/3 from the right side of our round roof. How we'll do that is select the object and then use the right arrow on the keyboard to move our object to the right. And since the object is already aligned, using the right arrow means it will stay aligned the entire time. Once you're about 1/3 of the way in, you can stop there. Once the block is in position, the next step is to raise the block up. And by doing this, I'm going to first move the plane down so I have a better view from the front, and then I'm going to click and drag on the cone on top of the red box. Now I want it to be 4 units above the plane. And doing this height will make sure it's cleared the bottom so there's no hole in the bottom, and there's a smooth edge on both sides of the phone holder. Once we have the red box in place, we want this box to actually cut a hole out of our phone holder. How we're going to do this is over here in the top right. If you have your shape selected, it might look like this, or if your arrow is down, it might look like this. what you're going to want to do is click the arrow down. We're in solid mode. Click hole. Your red box has now become a hole. Now to make this hole stick, we'll want to select both objects, and I'm going to hold down Shift and click on the round roof since I already have the red box, and then go up and click the group button. Now there's a hole in our round roof, and we're nearly ready to hold our phone. The final step in this project is if we want to add a hole for the home button for our phone, and this would go in the center about there. To make this hole, we're going to drag in the cylinder in hole form. You can either drag in a cylinder in solid form or hole form. Either way, you can switch once you have it on. Once we have the cylinder on, we're going to click and drag the rotation cursor, and we want to rotate it 90 degrees to the left so that it's on its side. The next step is we want to select the phone holder and the circle, and we want to align them, and we're going to click the center node on the left again. The next step is to bring the cylinder up so it is at the same height as the hole for the home button. How we do this again is select the cylinder, click and drag the cone, and you want it to be about 15 to 20 units in the air. I'm going to drag mine to 17 units. Now since these objects are already aligned and we have the cylinder selected, you can use the left arrow key to drag the cylinder into the object, and it doesn't matter about how far you do it as long as it doesn't cut into the holder behind. And then once you're ready, you can select the holder as well, and then click the group button, and you now have a successfully completed phone holder with the home button.